Hello friends, it's Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. Welcome to Throwback Thursday. This is a weekly series on my blog where I dig into my older paper stash and we make something fresh and new together. Last week I made our August banner of the month with Graphic 45's Time to Flourish August papers. And I've got these little snips and snaps of the paper collection left. And I thought we would work together and make a little card with these scraps. So the first thing I want you to do is cut two 5-inch by 11-inch pieces of cream cardstock. This is 110 pound. And I've put 1/4-inch score tape on one end, overlapped my other end over it, and then I scored it 7 1/4, 1 over 3/4 of an inch to 8 inches, then came down and scored it 7, and then scored it 7 3/4. So this creates the beginnings of a box pocket. So I'm going to show you how to finish off this box pocket. It's pretty simple. So we know our pocket is 2.5 inches tall. I'm going to cut my paper right at 2.5 inches. Make sure I've got a straight edge here. Sometimes this paper you get in big packets is not perfectly straight, but here we go, 2.5. And I know I need 3/4 inches on each side and then 1/2 inch. So let's see, let's do the math. Let's bring in the scoring tool, and we want to go 1/2 inch. And then here's our 3/4, 1, 2, 3, and then 1/2 inch. All right, this will be one pocket side, so you can cut it on that. Then bring this in again and go 1/2 inch, and then you have to go 3/4 of an inch, and then 1/2 inch. And this is the other pocket side. Now I'll show you how quick and easy it is to put this together. Come in with your scoring tool, score these little 1/2 inch flaps in, and use a bone folder to crease them well. If you want to know which direction to score into, always score. If you look when you're scoring, there's an indented side and there's a side with a bump. You always want to score into the side with a bump. You're just going to get a cleaner, straighter score line every time. So now bring in your card. This is, again, we scored at 7 1/4. We scored at 8. We folded on the 8-inch line. We folded at 7. We scored at 7. And then we scored at 7 3/4. And that formed our box pocket base. So I'm taking one of these little 1/2 inch flaps, and I'm just gluing it down so that it's lined up nice and straight with the edge, and we don't want it to interfere with the fold. Now I can see when I look at this, I'm going to have to come in and trim a little bit off. All right. On that particular one. Now you put your adhesive on this inner 1/2 inch flap. And fold. And you want to keep everything nice and straight, like you want straight corners, okay? And line this up. Over here, do the same thing. All right, and then come in with your bone folder and just press those flaps into place. And there's your box pocket base. Okay, all right, friends, let's start layering this card front up. I have a 4 3/4 by 7-inch piece of this yellow, pretty yellow. And it's just a tick over 4 3/4 and a tick over 7. And then I have this aqua panel that I've cut that is just a tick over 4.5 and a tick over 6 3/4. And you can see I just cut little strips. I had that one piece of the aqua designer paper with the sunflowers, and I cut it into little strips, mitered the corners, and stitched it onto this panel. So that creates a little frame. That's a good trick for when you don't have a whole lot of a designer paper left. You can still get the accent of it if you miter those corners and create a frame. And why waste all the paper by, you know, covering the whole panel that way? It's actually a really great paper saver in general. So I'm going to center this up on my yellow. And again, I like to work off my card base. That's just my preference. I find it's just easier to do everything if I do. Then I took the August ledger page from the 12 by 12 and put it on just a slightly larger piece of the yellow and stitched it up on my sewing machine. And I've added foam tape to the back. And we're going to center this up over our mitered frame, and nobody knows the better. See that? Then also from the 12 by 12, I took this sweet little sunflower. This is the 4 by 4. I did the same thing, matted it on just a slightly larger piece of my yellow. And I'm actually going to push this over a little bit to the left. Not quite all the way to the edge, but close to it. And then I've got this little piece of the gold. And I'm going to put down right here. Then a little piece of the turquoise. And then this little tiny piece of the border strip. Okay, see how neat that looks? I covered an ATC tag with, I had actually die cut this piece when I made the banner, and it was extra. So this is going to go right here. And then I fussy cut this from the 8 by 8. And this is going to go right here. And then this is a little snippet of the border from the 8 by 8. And it's going to go right here. Get it straight. Then I want to wrap it around to the back. Okay. All right, so I've got some greenery I'm going to bring in here. These are just little pieces that I had in my stash, left over from other projects. But I like what they add to the tag. So there's one small sunflower, and these are Heartfelt Creations sunflowers. I just was in the mood to make some sunflowers. I was all out of them in my stash, and I like to keep these on hand because they are so beautiful. And I actually really love the small sized ones. As you can see, they're really handy to have on a card like this. Put this one here and tuck this little foliage in there. So that finishes out our little tag detail. I added this ladybug clothespin because there's the little ladybug down here on the leaf. So I'm going to take one of my sunflower leaves up here going this way, and one of them down here going this way, and I just covered up my sweet little ladybug, didn't I? And I colored these with a combination of distress inks. I used fossilized amber and scattered straw and wild honey, I think. And I just use the smoosh method, where you smoosh your ink down onto your craft sheet, wet it, and then dip your paper in it over and over again until your paper is completely covered. Then I stamped the sunflower stamps with Rusty Hinge Distress Oxide ink, and then sprayed them with Sunflower Sparkle Perfect Pearls, which I don't think you can get anymore, but I think you can actually. I think they just changed the name. I think it's the same stuff. It's one of his mica sprays, which is all Perfect Pearls ever was a mica spray. So I think they just changed the name and marketed it as a new product, but it's the same thing. All right, the only thing that's left to do on this cover is to tie a little bow to go right in here. I think this looks good. I don't think I want to do anything else. And I've got some sunflowers left over for another project, which is exciting. So there's that. I'm not sure where I got this ribbon. I found it in my stash. It's not really reasonable ribbon. It's just a ribbon I had in my stash, but I love how it works with this particular color palette. It's just perfect. The only thing I might come in and do is scatter a few gems around on this, but mostly this is perfect just the way it is. All right, guys, we have to get creative on the inside. So I took this ledger image from the 12 by 12 and trimmed it to fit this piece of turquoise cardstock. And then I used the offcuts to line at the top and the bottom. So we can come in with little sentiment tabs from the 8 by 8. Let's put this up here, it fits better. And then down on the bottom, we can put sunny days. Okay. And then for our box pocket, I've taken this. This is a 6.5 inch by 3 1/4 inch piece. This is from the July papers, but it works because of the red flowers. So I was careful to cut it so that it didn't say 4th of July or July anywhere that was super visible. And then what we're going to do, I scored 3/4 of an inch on each side because that's the depth of our pocket. We're just going to cut up to this 3/4 inch horizontal score line. And now we can fold. See, now it just says summer and summertime and for you, and it looks like it works. So we're going to make a cover for our box pocket. So I'm just going to cut a little wee triangle out of each of these tabs that we cut, just so it will fold in nicely. And then adhesive on the tabs. And then this will fold right in. And just line up your corners. Okay, make sure it fits, and it does, yay. And then come in with your adhesive. Make sure you get in the creases really well. Now, if you don't want to make a box pocket and you just want to lay a straight up piece of paper over your pocket, that's perfectly fine. I just love how finished they look when you do the box pocket. So then to dress up our pocket, I've got this little stamp and sentiment strip from the 8x8. Just like that. And then I want to line this with a piece of yellow. And I think I'm going to go this way with it because I really do want it a little wider than that. So this is 5. I'm going to take this just a tick under 4 7/8, and it's about 4 3/4. It's just a scrap. This is going to go right here. Okay. A strip of the red that really should work right here just fine. I don't always line the spine, but this is such a, 3/4 inches is big. I went searching, and the July papers have this blue pattern that actually works pretty good with the blue from August. So I'm just going to make a little tick mark here. I'm really down to like itty wee scraps of things. So I have to be clever at this point. But that's kind of how you finish this. Then you'll just cut a piece to go across the spine here, load your cover on, fill up your pocket with whatever you want to fill it with, and you're good. So I'll finish this up and I'll come back and show you what I've done. All right, friends, here it is all finished. I put the cover on the card. I did add a little foam tab back behind the bee charm so it didn't fall under our sentiment. But I love the way the cover looks. It's really sweet. On the inside, here's it all finished. I just wrapped up a Biscoff cookie. I made a little tea wallet. I covered up for my friend and put "You Are My Sunshine." Put a lemon ginger tea bag in there. This is actually from the July collection, but I had this little square of the sunflowers that I put in the middle. Actually looks really pretty. And then I made a little note card. I just cut this panel of cardstock and I scored to make the little embossed edges, and then distressed it a little bit, added a flower to the top. So a note can be written there, and a honey stick and a Biscoff cookie wrapped up in some of the 8x8 paper. So that is the tail end of this August Time to Flourish paper. I hate to see it be done. It's one of my favorites. I've just loved this paper from the day it came out. But there you are, folks, all finished up, using up the scraps, creative ways to stretch your paper for Throwback Thursday with Kathy by Design. Thanks for joining me. Go get your craft on. Bye.